go out this one day and I out-power by my instructor. I'm feeling really proud. The next day, I'm not feeling so proud. I keep putting the ball in the water again. I'm so frustrated. Put down another one. Put down another one. I don't care. I don't care what my score is. Let's do it. And finally, I was getting frustrated. It's going things like, ain't it a bitch? This is golf. And I'm going, bull. I said, you're a terrible instructor. I said, because I should at least be consistent at whatever shitty level I can achieve. I said, I know I'm not Tiger Woods, but I should be able to be consistent. And you're just telling me that it's difficult. Tell me it's difficult is not helping. Tell me what to do. He said, well, actually, you're only a little bit off. I said, could have fooled me. He said, no, you're about a millimeter or two off. I said, you're joking. He said, no, watch this. He said, I didn't teach you this yet. He said, when you approach the ball like this, he said, if you change the angle that you're attacking is just 1 or 2 millimeters. In the very beginning, you see how that changes the arc? This one, instead of being on the green, by 1 millimeter, now you're in the water. 1 millimeter over here, you're in the sand. He said, and also you're hitting the ground by 1 millimeter sometimes. You're not stroking it, just 1 millimeter. And I thought, what a great belief system that when all hell's breaking loose and nothing's working, that you're only 1 millimeter off. Because most people think it's impossible, so they give up. Isn't that true? And in real life, it's true. So 2 days later, I'm going to see one of my clients. I do a lot of coaching. And that man is the top plastic surgeon in the world. He's going through some tough times in aspects of his life. But this is a guy that gets paid by Sultan of Brunei $1 million to fly over into 3 people's faces. He is the #1 plastic surgeon in the world. He can make anyone who's ugly look spectacularly beautiful. He showed me pictures of a woman who's 84 years old. He made her look 40 and gorgeous, no exaggeration. You know what? I'm waiting for him in his office, and he's still in surgery. So he's got a new book he's creating to teach other surgeons around the world. And I'm going through, and it's got pictures of, the top 100 supposedly most beautiful women in the world's faces. And then men. I wasn't paying attention to that one. I just kept turning the pages, right? But I noticed something. He's got all these measurements. And he has mathematically calculated what it takes to make someone look gorgeous, man or woman. And it's a few millimeters. Interesting. For example, on a woman, the distance between the top part of your lip and your nose, this little distance, the measurement of that, if you're beautiful, gorgeous, is the same size as your eye. If it's 1 millimeter more, you have an average face. If it's 2 millimeters more, you are butt ugly. Okay. The difference between butt ugly and gorgeous is 2 millimeters. He's got about a dozen of these little 1 or 2 millimeter changes he makes, and it's a different person. It is unbelievable. So a very powerful belief to leave today with would be, nothing's working, I'm 1 millimeter away. What little thing will change? And when I do, it changes everything. Because I'm heading this direction, I make this little shift. You take that up an hour from now, a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, you have a totally different destination from that direction. But the 1 millimeter change, I'll show you one of them right now. Check this out. Stay in the state of certainty. Somebody lost it. Intensify it, whatever it takes. Intensify. Make your move. Come on. Make your move. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now feel that in your body. Don't let go of it. Now watch. Here's the difference between being certain and being uncertain. Did you see that? Certain, uncertain. See if you can find that little spot between the two, where you drop just a little bit of your chest, and you feel it drop. You come back up. Drop. How many can feel that difference between where you really feel? Now intensify it, and where you dropped it. Is it a tiny difference? Yes or no? Yes or no? Now, could you condition yourself to feel great in this state? Yes or no? So what I want you to do is give yourself that opportunity. So the way we're going to do is very simple. We're going to go into peak state. And then we're going to train ourselves. Because guess what? If you're in this state of certainty, and all hell's breaking loose in your life, people can't figure out to go, move, I'll handle it. People go, he's so lucky, he's so confident. No, here's what I've created for my life, and anyone I know has succeeded. I'm a 17-year-old kid from Azusa, California, with no real education other than self-education, with no background, with parents that did their best, all of them, with no money, but I did one thing. I love people, and I had an enormous demand I made upon myself, and I sculpted my mind and my emotions to get me to do whatever it would take to achieve and to contribute. But to do that, I did it by using my body and changing my focus. I did it by putting myself in a peak physiology and using what I call incantations. Can you train yourself to believe something? Yes or no? Absolutely. How many of you ever made the fatal mistake of going to Disneyland or Disney World And while you're there, made the fatal mistake of going to a ride called It's a Small World After All. What happens for about a week after you're out of that damn place? You're still singing this thing in your head in 24 languages, right? Well, let me tell you something. How many of you have things when you want to go achieve them and this part of your voice goes, oh, it's not going to happen, or forget it? How many got a voice that sometimes interrupts that good pattern? Say, ah. What you want to do is train a new one. So starting when I was 17, I started doing incantations, not affirmations. Affirmation, you go, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. What's the problem? You haven't changed your what? Your what? Physiology. If you don't change your physiology, you won't get anything. So in incantations, not only you speak it, but you embody what you're saying with all the intensity you can. And you do it with enough repetitions that it sticks in your head. Like It's a Small World, now the conversation in your head is always the same and it gives you what you want. So you use your body and your voice. So 17 years ago, I started doing things. I was working for Jim Rome, this speaker. I was 17 years old. I had long hair, minestrone soup, acne on my face. And I was trying to call on Bear Stearns type of people and convince them why they should go to this man's seminar and be more successful. I was driving a 1968 Volkswagen. And I had earned it $40 a week as a janitor. The only way I did it was park far from the building and then go in, and I love people, and I believe when I put myself in state, and I was able to influence people that were far more successful than I was at the time. I would do something that I still do backstage and have done for 23 years. Because I don't hope I'm going to be in good state, I demand it. So I do an incantation using my whole body. I'd say, I now command my subconscious mind to direct me in helping as many people as possible today to better their lives by giving me the strength, the emotion, the persuasion, the humor, the brevity, whatever it takes to show these people and get these people to change their lives now. And I would do that literally driving in my Volkswagen to a meeting in LA on the freeway for 40 minutes. People are looking, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. They're going, I know he's a serial killer. I know he is. But by the time I entered that room, when two people meet, if there's rapport, the person who's most certain will always influence the other person. And I was totally certain, and they were trying to get revved up to certainty. Do you agree with this? Yes or no? I do another one because I was poor. I changed my mindset. I kept doing things, but I never got beyond it. I'd say God's wealth is circulating in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs, desires, and goals are met instantaneously by infinite intelligence, where I'm one with God and God is everything. And I would imagine the abundance of my life, and I would feel so grateful. And a year later, I went from making $38,000 a year to making $1 million a year in 1 year. But successful people do what failures won't. You follow me on this? Yeah?
Alrighty, so takeaways from that. Raise hands. I know some of you guys got here late. I did have a little staff huddle here, but what takeaways from what you guys just heard? Jimmy.
One of the things he said is like building rapport, and like the one with the most certainty can influence the other.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What else? Other takeaways from there. There's good stuff in that video, so
Intensity.
wake up.
So instead of just like affirmations, it's like the intensity of how you say it. Like you give the example on his way to his meetings. He would like basically like give it all his energy before the meeting, like give him something that was like the physiology, not just the affirmations.
Okay. What else? There's one like really big thing. It was kind of like the underlining thing, and it's actually the title of the whole thing.
That's the last.
Okay.
last.
All right, and guys, the whole thing, and if I know some of you guys missed the beginning, he's talking about sometimes just that one little minute, you're just that little bit off, and that little bit off can change the complete trajectory of where you're going or what's happening, and it's a crazy thing because in life, it's so true, that it's just that one little tweak here, that one little tweak there that can really change everything. And so this applies, in sports, this applies in life, this applies in relationships. I had a friend and his girlfriend that were having a lot of issues. And like 2 weeks ago, I got a text from him and he goes, did you talk to her? And I was thinking but when I read it, it just said, hey, did you talk to so-and-so? And I immediately was like, oh crap, like, oh, I missed her call, or I missed his call the other day, and it was probably something really bad, or like it's done, and they just been having a lot of trouble, and he was talking to me about it, and I was like, dude, you need to do this, or stop doing this, like just a little bit of effort here, like can make a really big difference. And I was like, is everything okay? And I was like in the middle of meetings, I couldn't talk, and he goes, no, she's been incredible. He's like, I didn't know if you had talked to her. And I was like, I totally thought that was going the other way. But when we spoke, he was just, I said, what do you think happened or whatever? And he was just kind of telling me something, but it was just so cool to see, and it's just, sometimes it's just that little, it's a small decision to say, I'm not going to get something small beside me, or, hey, I'm going to make an extra effort to do this little thing. And that can just mean the world, for somebody else. And in your businesses, I think about, I remember like with Cutco, whenever I coach people, I always laugh about like, it's not one major thing. It's not like, oh my God, you cut rope. Like, oh my God, you have 2 good knives, or yours have a guarantee. Like, no, like we all have the same knives. They all do the same shit. They all have a guarantee, so what is it that, why is it that some people are out there, dropping these huge orders, and some people are not, and it's little things that make a big difference, and I think about with the recommendations, it's little things, it's that proof, it's, having those, the expectations set subconsciously to the customer through how you ask, what you show them, how you hand the sheets, are there sheets that are filled out, like those little things, when you go to ask for the order, something as little as somebody going like this, like, so did you want to try that? Or like, did you want that? Or they could be like, oh, did you want that? And maybe they asked right away, but their nonverbals are like, oh, I hope they say yes or something, and it's just like, dude, what is your face doing? Like, you just are like, oh, and you expect it and you look like you expect it. Like that could be the world of a difference there, So I think about as we go into these next 10 days, and I was doing some journaling yesterday on the plane on my way back from seeing my papa, and I was just thinking about just everything, just who we are. Oh, did I leave my journal in the car? Dang it. Actually, I have some stuff here. So I was sharing with my sister last night. I talked to her for like an hour when I got back. I was just thinking about, how we go about, I had a good friend I saw yesterday, and he was just like, I don't understand how you just like keep going, right? And like, you're just like, oh, he's like, I've known you for so long, and you're just like, you're always, but you love it, and you're like so excited, and you're always doing so much. And I remember having that energy once when we were younger, but like, I don't know, it's just like, I'm not the same way, And it was really funny because I was reading something that like he wrote 7 years ago. And I had called him out and said, like, what happened to you? He had come to one of my Cutco conferences, had heard me speak. He was like, man, and like wrote me this whole thing. And I said, what happened to you? I'm like, where'd you lose your way? And when we were talking about stuff, he was just like, I don't get it. And I said, and it really got me thinking. And I said, what does keep me going? What is it, that keeps me moving? And I wanted to share with you guys, because on the plane, I kind of started journaling, and I thought about the power of that for you guys, and just like friends, family, people that I talk to. And I'm like, when they ask, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay focused? And I'm like, I know what I want to do, like I know what I want to accomplish. And so this goes back to who was at, Justin's wrap-up talk for SEO. And raise your hand if you had Justin's wrap-up talk, okay? So some of you guys weren't there. And actually, I have a video of a really good friend of mine that he did kind of a dreams list. And he did this while he was knocking off one of his dreams. I think he was in Thailand. And he was like on a boat out there, and he like kind of walked through some of his guys doing exercise with this. But it was so neat. But it's like, I think about first identifying, where you want to go. And this is, so the push. So I think about the push, right? You're like, why the hell are we talking about this, in the morning? And I think about push periods and what they're designed to do. And they're designed, it's not just like, oh, we just want to get up early and work hard, whatever. Like, I talked to Kim's dad. I was like, we can meet later. We can meet for lunch and then make calls at lunchtime. Like, we could totally design this differently. But it's about, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and it's about learning mental toughness. I think that's one of the biggest parts of a push, is learning mental toughness. It's the mental toughness of getting up in the morning when you don't want to. It's the mental toughness of making phone calls when you don't want to. It's the mental toughness of, doing going through doing demos, even when you just had a really shitty one, and being able to refocus yourself and go to the next one, and understanding that in life, you can't let problems from one thing drag into the other. You know, you have an argument with your spouse, you can't carry that to your kids. Someone annoys you at work, you can't carry that home to your family. You know, like you have to learn to separate things, because that's not fair to them. You know, if you're not giving them 110% when you had some bullshit happen with someone at work, and then you strain your personal relationships because you don't know how to separate things, you know? So through this process, one of the things that I remember learning, you know, years ago is how to separate those things and saying, okay, there's a person I'm seeing now, like, does this affect them at all? Like, that's not fair for me to bring that into this. I need to give this person 110%. And that's the same thing on your demos, by the way. You start learning that separation on your demos. You had a shitty day. You had a fight at home with your mom. You had something happen with whoever you're dating, and say, just stop whatever you're doing. Don't worry about that right now. But whatever it is that's happening, you know, something's not going well, like that's not fair to whoever you're seeing, whoever you're talking to, for you to carry that in there. And so that, by the way, that takes a certain level of maturity. That takes a certain level of intentionality to say, you know what, like I got to separate this, you know, I've got to really, so during the push, you learn skill sets like that, which I think is unbelievable, you know, and you learn how to reset yourself and say, okay, I was going for this, you know, now I have to like start again. Yesterday, I thought it was awesome, the video. And if you didn't watch it, go back and look at it. Little link. It's like, I don't know, 10 seconds, but the Confucius, was it Confucius? 10 things, sayings, you know, by him. And I loved number 4, I think it was, that said like, if you're not hitting your goals, don't change your goals, change your actions. And I was just like, yeah, that's perfect, you know, and that's something that goes with that 1 million. It's like, it's not like, oh, change everything. It's just like, or say, oh, I can't play golf. It's like, all right, just change this or change that, you know, in your life. And you can totally create something different for yourself. So I think about, you know, first of all, and so that was one big thing that I learned in Kakyo. But another big thing, you know, through these meetings, through the mornings, that I remember my first summer 14 years ago, which have forever, you know, changed me. And it wasn't just like I had hiked for some time, you know, or there was that, like, when I was new, I was like, yeah, excited, like I can do anything. But it was just, it became part of who I am, you know. And so when my friends and family see me, you know, years later, and I was talking to another friend of mine who actually was my #1 recruiter. She was my recruiting manager in 2007, you know, while like prego, super prego. Like at the end of that summer, she was 8 months, you know, towards the end, she's like full on running interviews with her belly like out to here, you know, and we were just talking about, you know, that time. And even now we were saying something and I was like, oh, Dad, I'm like, do you want to go to the opening ceremonies in Japan in 4 years? I said, I'm going to go to the closing ceremonies in Brazil this year. I said, but on my dreams list is to go to the opening ceremonies, and on my dreams list is to eat sushi in Japan. And on my dreams list is, I'm like, and the Olympics are in Japan in 4 years. I said, do you want to do that together? Because I know like oh my gosh, he would love to go to the Olympics. We grew up watching, sitting by the TV, him and I, you know, like watching all the swimming and the gymnastics and the basketball and the, you know, beach volleyball. And that's where I like fell in love with volleyball. I was like watching Olympics with my dad when I was little. And I said, you know, what do you think about that? And he's like, that would just be incredible, you know? And my girlfriend's like, oh my God, I hate your life, but I like love your life. Like, how do you always do all these crazy things? I said, I don't do crazy things. I do things that I want to do, that I like wrote down, that I was like, I want to do this. And every year I knock 3 to 5 things off my list every year. That's my goal, to knock 3 to 5 things off my list. I made a list of 100 things that I want to do in my life, you know, and more. And I kept adding to that. And every year I add more stuff to it because I cross other things off. So it's like, what's next on the list? And keeping a running list of things that excite me, you know, to want to work hard, to want to do those things. And you know, there's all the different goals, right? You have your adventure goals, you have your professional goals, you have your legacy goals, you have like all these different categories of goals, you know. And I thought about yesterday when I was in the plane, he's like, you know, how do you, my girlfriend was talking about like being in a relationship and saying like, hey, how do you have time for this or make time for, and I said, you know what? One of the most important things to me, and right now, and I said, when the time comes, it comes. I said, but one of the most important things to me is who I'm becoming and the legacy I'm leaving behind. You know, when any test I've ever done, any coaching I've ever done, something that's very important to me is like, am I living life where I'm supposed to? And I was journaling this. I was talking to my sister about this yesterday, and whatever, this is from my personal journal I'm sharing with you guys, but I said, I'm a dreamer and a doer. I want to experience life at its fullest. I love cultures. I love helping others. I hate the day-to-day American grind and how the average family lives. I want to leave a legacy. I want to impact 1 billion people in my life. I want to change the world. I feel God has blessed me with an ability to connect and inspire others. It's my responsibility to use that fully to forever change people's lives because they met me. I'm not here to work, pay bills, and live small like many people do. I live to play life at a high level, and there are people all around the world that need to meet me. I have something to give them, something to share that could forever change their life. I'm not sure what it is for everyone. It could be different, but because of their interaction with me, their life will never be the same. I will not play small while on this earth. I will play full out with everything I do. I was made to be a light of hope and inspiration. I accept my responsibility and take actions daily that'll help me carry out, whether in that moment or in preparation for the next. And then I said, who do I have to, and I was talking to myself, but who do you have to be to impact and influence the way that you want to? I said, I have to be disciplined. I have to be hardworking. I have to be nurturing. I have to be a great example of being driven, goal-oriented. I have to be a great student. I have to be a great teacher. I have to be patient. I have to be loving. I have to be understanding. I have to be a visionary. I have to be compassionate. I have to be approachable. I have to be passionate. I have to be respected. I have to be intentional. And I was just writing stuff down, and and I share this with you guys because, I want to challenge you guys to really think about, what were you, who were you meant to be, and one, not think small about that, because, for all my friends were always like, you always feel like you can do everything. You always do. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I was given I know that I've been given gifts. And one of the things that is one of my fears is the day that I die and I'm standing in judgment or whatever. And it's like having wasted potential, having you had these gifts, you had these abilities, yet you didn't use them. Why? And not everybody has the same talents and abilities. And many of you in this room are so freaking talented. You're so freaking able. You have so much that you're able to give, yet you waste your life doing stupid shit, partying, doing drugs, wasting days that you don't get back, by the way. And you could have maybe done, impacted people in a way that no one ever can, And I'm not saying that to be hypocritical if you're like, oh, don't do anything, don't party. Oh, I definitely had my share of partying, okay? I did stupid shit, made stupid decisions. I read my post yesterday. My dad was cracking up after. He's like, oh, yes, sometimes you made it hard for me to love you. And I was like, but he was always there, through jail, through court cases, through getting expelled twice. I got kicked out of school, through losing all of my scholarships, and having to work my ass off and having certain conversations and selling the courtroom and school on why I need to let back in and have it erased from my transcript so I wouldn't lose my scholarships for college. I don't tell you guys about that. I was valedictorian in my senior class. I was captain of everything. I was a president of the National Honor Society. I also lost everything and had to work my ass off to be able to not have that affect my scholarships for college. And I did some stupid shit, and I had a lot of fun. But it was really I was very blessed to be connected with an unbelievable group of influence when I was in college. Never, ever, ever did I desire to go to a Christian college. That was not on my list. That was actually opposite of my list. And I was like, I am not going to a Christian college. I went to a Christian high school and I got into enough trouble there. I can't have all those rules. I hated all the rules. And I was like, there's just no way. It's just not happening. And God was like, oh yeah. And it was a crazy series of events. And if you hear about my life and just how kind of things panned out, and for those who ever get close to me, you'll learn more about that. But God wanted me at that school. All right. I did not want to go to that school, and just crazy. And to this day, I still don't know, something that happened that they the honors college received my, entrance, whatever, that I never wrote. My mom yelled at me for not writing. And I remember calling her thinking she wrote it. I'm like, why did you? And I'm like, Mom. And I go, the letter or whatever project it was. And she goes, and then she just starts bitching me. And she's like, yeah, why the hell have you not written that? And she starts going off, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't her. And she's like, you need that. Did you miss the deadline? Did you miss the deadline? I'm like, okay, sorry, Mom, gotta go. And the school had called me hey, we were so impressed with this. And I got a pretty much full ride to a school that was $22,000 a year, for my athletic and academic scholarships. paid $2,000 a year is what I paid. And that included housing, food, everything, you know? And I was just like, what the heck? And that's where I was, by the way, if I hadn't gone there, I would have never met Lisa or reconnected with her because we played in high school. And like, I can't even imagine the trajectory of my life, that one little thing. And it was like, holy crap. And she's been like one of my best friends in Guiding Angels. And Malik knows her because she worked at his school. And she, through my life, through 14 years or 16 years now of like an unbelievable relationship, like like God has used her and a certain circle, but her to be just kind of I feel like she's almost been like a guide in my life. It's been insane, you know, personally and spiritually. And she's who lived in Houston and was the director, the female chaplain at Houston Christian. And I would come visit her, you know, and when a promotion time came up, you know, the only reason this was even on my list was from coming here and seeing her, you know, and just a letter she wrote to me on my birthday. Before I ever came to any of my interviews in California or here, you know, her and her husband brought me this letter and this book that said, Houston, it's worth it. And I was like, what is this? And she's like, I've been praying and I feel like you're supposed to be in Houston. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she goes, seriously. She goes, I left and I just feel like you're supposed to be there, you know? And like, she'd been here for a while and then she left that year and she got married the year before in 2013 and she moved back to South Florida and she's like, I just feel like you're supposed to be there. And I was in South Florida and I was like, I don't know about Texas. I was like, that is not on the top of my list, you know, but it's just so wild. And I just, you know, one of the things that I've been very open to and Cutco has made me very aware of is the fact that, you know, we were all like, for me, I believe. And, you know, you can believe whatever, but like, I believe we were put on this planet to do something, you know, I believe we were put here to like, you know, make an impact. And I was, I don't know who I was talking to this weekend, but I was like, my life motto is like, love God, love others, you know, and change the world, like impact, serve others. And like, that's what I was meant to do. And I thought, you know, before that I was going to be doing that in ministry in the mission field when I was in college. And I said, and then I was like, maybe I'll go into the Peace Corps or something, you know, maybe I'll do this. And every year, and I never committed long term and I never took this promotion because I was like, I'm supposed to like go do something else. You know, I'm supposed to do some kind of ministry. I'm supposed to like change the world. You know, I'm not going to do that with knives. And that was always my thing. And I was like, just, you know, one more year here and then I'm going to go do what I'm supposed to do. But through the years, God made it very clear that like this was my mission field. And there was future leaders and people that I was supposed to impact and influence that were going to change the world. And future doctors and lawyers and scientists and engineers and teachers and moms. And, you know, that we're going to be better people, that we're going to understand how to impact and influence, you know, and really lead their families and really help develop leaders in our community who did shit the right way. Because there's a lot of people, and the more and more I've met adults, you know, the more it hurts my heart when I see people who are just kids that got older and never got coaching and never learned how to be compassionate, you know, and never learned how to really lead, never really learned how to listen and had this like everything funneled through this effed up perspective that they had from growing up, and we're never able to really push past that. And that's like so crazy to me, and it's so sad to me to see people grow up in homes like that, you know. And by the way, when we have like when I coach people during SC2 a month from now, you know, we're gonna have on the 18th, exactly like a month from now, we'll have the Super Bowl, and the coaching that I do there has zero to do with Cutco, by the way. What I'm talking about this morning is like every day. There's different topics and different exercises and things that we do, has nothing to do with knives. It's all mental coaching, you know, and really evolving and becoming the person that you're supposed to be, you know, but it starts now. And I think that people lose sight of that. And it starts through the basic knife process. It starts with learning how to deal with rejection on the phone. It starts with having the shitty days, but persevering and pushing forward. It starts with, you know, this past week could have just been awful compared to where you wanted it to be or what you wanted it to be. Definitely, we started off strong the first couple of days and we just died out the end of the second half. And by the way, the second half's not over. We got 2 minutes left of the first half. First half is not over. We have today to finish the first half. Tomorrow starts the second half. And we could explode today. We can make today incredible, you know, and finish out and have our first 100K, you know, first 100K week of 2000. 16, all right, and build the right momentum this week to break the all-time best week ever. And that can be done. And that will be done if we come together and get our heads out of our butts, and start taking the right actions that match that. You have big goals, you have big dreams for yourself, you need to go out and take action, and that's really important. And I had a video that I wanted to show you guys this morning to wrap up the morning, but my computer is being retarded. And I don't know if you can pull up the Rocky speech. I absolutely love it, and it pumps me up with Rocky and his son. It's from one of the movies. But, you're going to get knocked down, and that's part of life. And it's really the champions in life that can get up, and keep moving forward. And that's something that I remember hearing that, but I learned that lesson so many years ago. I learned that lesson before I ever saw that video. I learned that lesson as I got into trouble, as I lost everything, as I was like, what the heck, and like homeschooled myself, and then had to transfer schools my senior year in high school. And I had to just get up and say, okay, I'm not going to be like, woe is me, I lost all this shit. Like, I'm going to just get up and make something incredible happen. And even when I started this job, I did not want to call people that I knew from high school. I did not want to call people from my church. I was like, I got to start people that I know. I'm like, I separated myself from everybody. It had been like 3 years since I talked to a lot of people. And I tell you guys, through this journey, through this process, it was really awesome to be able to reconnect with people. It was really neat, to see people, and they were like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing to see how you're doing and what you're doing. Like I was so worried, about you. I'm like, geez, like I wasn't that bad, but it was really cool to just, to see people now, and my dad, as we chatted this weekend, and, he was just like, I'm so proud of, you and everything you've done and who you are, and my brother's like, gosh, I wish I had your life, da, da, da. And I started laughing, and I'm like, no one would have said that in 1998. No one would have said that in 1999. No one would have said that in 2000. Through college, it was kind of a mix. In my early years as a manager, no one would have said that. They're like, you're insane and you work ungodly hours. Now they know my life. And they know that I do it during season. I'm like, it's go time. I'm an athlete. Like, let's roll. Like, I'll work 7 a.m. till freaking midnight every day, for the 8 weeks of season, I will grind it out. I have no problem doing that, and I know the rewards, and I know what it creates, and I know what that sacrifice during that time period, the type of life that it creates for my family, and what it does for my future, and I know for myself, I don't want to be mediocre. I don't want to live mediocre. I want to do extraordinary things for others, for people, and I want to live a life that I freaking loved, and that fires me up to get up in the morning. And you only do that if you're able to, and here's the thing, and I'll put the video on here in a second, is that people, I have people all the time, like now, who are just like, you're so lucky. And it's like if I've had everything always perfect, and I just like laugh, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I think that you would not have persevered through the shit that I went through, and not just the stuff of stupid decisions, but a lot of crap that has gone on through the years, to my family, to everything, like, thing after thing. And I remember even like Lisa's call, which was the worst call when my sister passed away that I received, was her screaming and crying, saying like, why? I just don't get it. Like, this is her. I'm like, you're telling me that? Like, why are you calling me like this right now? Like, my sister just died. And I was like having a hard enough time. And she was like hyperventilating. I was talking to Amber, because she's like, I was with Lisa when she called you. And Lisa was just like, she was bawling, yelling, like if it happened to her, like she's like, we're a family, like connected. And she was just like, I just don't get it. She's like, how has your family gone through so much crazy shit? I just don't get it. Like, one family has had enough, like, and I said, I don't know, Elise. I don't get it either, but I do. And a verse that is, or a quote that has always been there through my life that I don't get, but I get, and it's like, that Mother Teresa quote, and I've mentioned it before. Some of you guys have heard me talk about it, but it rings to the tune of, I know God doesn't give us more than we can handle. I just wish He didn't trust me so much, and certain people, like they have more strength, even when you don't feel like you have it, and it's not like I felt like I always had it, and I was like, I'm so strong. Like, there's so many times where it was just like, tears and felt so weak. And it was just like, oh my God, I cannot handle this. And by the way, you can handle it. You can handle all of it, you know? And that's what you need to know and understand, that like anything in your life personally that you're like, you just don't get it. Everyone goes through their shit, just so you know. Everyone's tested. It might not be the same stuff you've gone through, but everyone goes through shit. Nobody's life is perfect. That's not life, okay? Life is hard, and life does hit you hard, all right? But the best people understand that and know that. I'm gonna play this, and then I'll wrap up.
You know, living with you, it hasn't been easy. People see me, but they think of you. Now with all this going on, it's gonna be worse than ever.
It don't have to be.
No, sure it does.
Why? You got a lot going on, kid.
Well, my last name? That's the reason I got a decent job. That's the reason why people deal with me in the first place. Now I start to get a little ahead. I start to get a little something for myself, and this happens. Now I'm asking you as a favor not to go through with this, okay? This is only gonna end up bad for you, and it's gonna end up bad for me.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way you are.
That's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this. But you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up to say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always gonna love you no matter what. No matter what happens. You're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life. Don't forget to visit your mother.
Wise words from Rocky. And it really is like, it's pretty wild because it's just, I don't really look to that movie for like, great, nothing that's really life changing. They're not the best movies, but they're just so great to watch. But it's such a real conversation that he had there about life for so many people, and people will always like make excuses as to why they're not where they want to be or why they haven't accomplished what they want to accomplish. And the fact is, it comes down to you. It comes down to you make a decision that regardless of what happens to you, you're going to keep going. You're going to learn from it. You're going to grow from it. You're going to strengthen from it. Okay. All the bullshit you go through, you can let it keep you down, or you can learn from it and learn how to be stronger, how to be better, and understand that it was all part of the process. It was all part of your process in strengthening and really you becoming the person that you needed to be for the future. I spoke to had a really great conversation on Friday with one of our managers and who's doing their internship, and it was awesome. Like, he crushed this weekend, but I sent him a message, something that I had seen, And he was just like, yes, you know, and we were talking about how sometimes you just get knocked down. And this is probably one of the most positive people that I've like ever met. You know, he's absolutely outstanding. And he like, even the conversation, he was like just so positive. He's like, hey, I'm just reaching out because I want your help with something. And I need your, you know, guidance here on what I should be doing with this, you know? And I love this. And he said, and I sent him this, I said, sometimes we fall down because there's something that we're supposed to find. And this is someone, and he was like, yes, you know, I said, you know, I said, first of all, before I give you, I said, I'm going to give you total coaching guidance. I was like, I've got what you need to do, ready to go. Cool. But before I even give you any tip, I said, I want you to embrace the summer so far. And he was just like, okay. I was like, no, like really, like I want you to embrace, and I think about for you guys right now. Okay. I want you guys to think about, and if you guys can do me a favor, we're going to do a quick little exercise to this. If you guys can close your eyes for a moment and try not to fall asleep here. Okay. Really listen to what I'm saying. But I want you guys to embrace, and this is what I told him, and think about, you know, this past week, you know, things in your life, and like things that just have not gone how you expected them. You had a certain expectation of certain things happening and they just weren't met. And I want you guys to embrace for a moment that like that's exactly what was supposed to happen. You're exactly right now, exactly where you're supposed to be. Whatever has happened so far was part of your shaping and molding process. Meaning if everything had been going perfect right now, you wouldn't be working the muscles out. You wouldn't be developing the skill sets. You wouldn't be strengthening your mental muscles how you need to get something bigger done later. Right? You're going to need a certain mental muscle later this week, later this year, 10, 20 years from now that you're developing right now. And so through that process of everything, quote unquote, going wrong, it's actually just you strengthening and learning those skills. All right. And I want you guys to just soak it in and think about, you know, in the future, whatever it is that you like want to do or want to accomplish, your dream job, your dream family, I want you to look at it right now and what it looks like. All right. I want you to look at it, feel it, you know, and whatever emotion it brings, like, what is it, you know, like for me, it just makes me smile from ear to ear, like what it looks like later, you know, for the life that I want with my spouse and my kids, you know, the family, traveling, and things we get to do, things we get to experience, how we're able to give back, you know, to others because of what we have and what we've done. And I want you guys to just think about how great that's going to be. All right. And I want you guys to just open your eyes for a moment and understand this, like you cannot have all of that without going through the crowd. Does everyone understand me? Like it just doesn't happen. Every successful person, everyone who's created, invented, accomplished, and who's at the top, guess what? They've had to go through a lot of bullshit. They've had to deal with a lot of people telling them that their idea was dumb or that they shouldn't go through what they were doing. Every single person has gone through stuff. You know how many people told me this was the stupidest thing in the world for me to continue with the knife job? First to even have a knife job, then to keep it, then to decide after going through 4 years of school, being in the honors college, you know, being top of my class, deciding as a career to continue with the knife job. Cool. It got to a point where, okay, cool. That was cool. I was in college. I see how you gained from it. I see how you earn money, but now that's what you're going to do. Like that's the dumbest thing ever. Okay. And whatever it is that you're doing. And now those same people are like, wow, I wish I had the life you had. Wow. That's so great. You get to do all this, man. You know, and we're like, I'm like, oh, we're going to go, you know, here next year. And then like, and mapping out stuff for like, what are the big things next year to knock off the list, you know, and mapping stuff out. And it was just like, you know, hearing, you know, even my family and my dad's like, well, you know, we only have 2 weeks paid vacation, or, you know, my little sister, I was telling her, hey, next year we want to do X, Y, and Z, you know, family's going to do family trip, you know, in the beginning of March, end of February. Then in August, you know, we have my 35th. I want to go to Napa. I want to rent a house. I want to do this. Then we want to, and she's like, I don't have that many weeks. And I said, hey, can you join us? And even this year, I'm like, are you going to come to Las Vegas? Dad and Cheryl are going to come, Josh and Kate, you know, and like all my fans. She's like, I don't know, I can get the time off. I don't know that we have the funds for that, you know? And I'm just like, ugh. And I hate those two things every time where I'm like, I want to live life, but yet most people, it's like, I don't have the time that I can take off. I don't have the money for that. And I just never want those things to be an obstacle. And I want to coach everyone that I work with that they get a chance to learn the foundations of what it is to be an entrepreneur. You know, and my dad yesterday was like, not everyone's an entrepreneur like you. And I'm like, yeah, but you can be. You choose not to be, you know, and That's the fact, like everyone has, different schedules. Everyone has, but they made that choice. They decided to stay in a place where, their schedule is different. Or you're stuck, working. I don't mind working my butt off when it's working for me and working for my family and working for my future. I don't care to do, that for somebody else. Like I like to do it on my terms, for me. And you guys have a great tool in front of you. And whether you utilize this tool for the next month or two, you utilize this for the next couple of years through college, you decide to use it long term, you guys have an unbelievable foundation here. And you're going to be hearing more. I know Mary Lou's been talking to some people already about Leadership Academy, everything. Like we want to develop strong leaders. We want to develop you guys to be mentally strong. We want to give you the skill sets to do anything, to start any company, to do anything that you want to do in the future. We want to show you guys how to be unbelievable sales representatives and going through this process. And even this week, I want to meet with everyone and just kind of like look at your stuff. Tomorrow I have the sales leadership development meeting. Anyone who has not been to an SLDM, rearrange your day tomorrow. I want you there. Do a 9 a.m., do an 11 a.m. Demo, do a 7:30 and do a 9:30 p.m. demo. Cool. You can still get 4 solid demos done before or 9:30, 11:30. And then, I want to have you, 9 and 11. I want to have you guys at City Center, by 1 p.m., parking by 12:45, 1 p.m. So again, if you have not been, if you've been to it already, you don't need to be there. It's just, I'm going to be going through a lot of the same stuff. It's a certain meeting that I run. Okay. But if you have not been to it, talk to Mary Lou and rearrange your day to have 4 demos, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, so that your butt can be there. I will give you great stuff that you can utilize, and then we can follow up and I can help you with specifically what you need to help you crush this week. All right. We have 10 days. It's a fast start. Everyone has a fast start right now from now till SE1. I can't believe SE1 is next Wednesday. It's insane to me. I'm so excited for it. I love conferences, and these, this is we have 2 divisional, summer conferences all year. And then we have, regionally, we have January, we have end of August CFC, and then for our top guys, we have in November in New York, for those who are in our Leadership Academy, that we have at the factory. We actually go to Ole in New York and go on a factory tour. It's so cool. And you get to meet like CEO, everybody, like it's such a cool trip. But this summer conference, I can't wait for next Wednesday for it to open your guys' eyes. Again, if you haven't reserved your seat, like you get on that ASAP. So we're going to transition now into calls. And by the way, during this time, for anyone who's here for the first time, like this is where you guys need to crank out your 20, 30 calls, from now until 9, and then checkouts. During this time, I need to meet with the staff right now for the next 30 minutes. Do not leave without checking out with us. And again, you need to make your 20, 30 calls first anyway. So get serious, get focused, track your calls, but recommit yourselves this morning. That's what I want to challenge you guys. Like there's something bigger. All right. This is not just about waking up in the morning and like selling knives and you being like, oh, screw this, I'm tired. It's about you developing the mental muscles and the mental toughness, to really strive for what you want for yourself in your life, to fight for what you want. That if you're not having the results, that things aren't going a certain way, that you're intentional about making the tweaks to create what you want, in the life that you want. And you get to use this as a playground to develop those skill sets. By the way, to get knocked down, but have an unbelievable support system to pull you up. Where in life, you're not always going to have that. When you get knocked down in life, many times people will be like, you see, all right. I don't know if any of you watched the movie Joy. I just watched it for the first time on Friday, and it was like the real life story of like Lady with the Home Shopping Network. Like that's real life for a lot of people. Her family and friends, like that's real life for a lot of people.
I never even knew what that was even about. Like the commercial was pretty big, and I was pretty interested, but I just never really.
Yeah, it's a real life story of like a woman who is one of the biggest names in the home shopping network, who created and invented over 100 things that were sold there, and just like the life that she had growing up, and even with her first one, which was like the self-ring mop, she's the one that created that, and it like goes through her story. It's really, really it's pretty intense, like as you're going through the movie, but it's just like, man, people have so much negativity, and you guys have a place where you have so much positivity, don't take that for granted as you're developing those muscles. So let's get our huddle on, let's get our calls on. All right.